we should call maintenance.
I'll fix it. I'm gonna fix it.
Concentrate it, maintain it, maintain control.
Maintenance complete.
This is The Maintainers, a Blue Cap community podcast. My name is David Lee, Director at Traction, and your host for today's show.
And I'm Jake Hall, the Manufacturing Millennial. On today's episode, we're joined by Vitória Régia. She is the maintenance lead at Magna International, a Fortune 500 company that you probably have parts that you've ridden in your car every single day. They're one of the largest automotive manufacturers in the world and across North America. Now, while Magna is actually a Canadian company, Vitória is joining us from all the way over in Ireland, where she's been there now for 7 years, and we're going to learn more about her story in just a few minutes. But before that, a word from our sponsor.
This podcast is brought to you by Traction. Traction offers streamlined hardware and software solutions designed to make maintenance more reliable and profitable. Their AI-powered condition monitoring and asset management solution predicts machine failures and unplanned downtime, allowing clients to save an average of $10 million every trimester. It's artificial intelligence quarterbacking your maintenance.
Well, thanks for joining us today, Vitória. First of all, how are you doing today? Thanks so much for joining us.
I'm doing great, Jake. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Absolutely. So before we dive into your background and your profession and what you're doing in the maintenance community today, we'd love to know what you do to get some R&R time. So what is your escape? Where do you find your hobbies and your downtime?
Well, when I have a downtime here in Ireland, try just to go outside. They're a very good place for you to go hiking here in Ireland, all over the place. So whenever I have a short free time, I would pick somewhere here, mostly Kerry. It's on the southeast part of Ireland, but when it's a little longer free time, definitely I would choose Brazil, my hometown.
Nice. Well, tell us a little bit about your background. As you just mentioned, you're in Ireland, came from Brazil. But at this point, I want to hear how you got started in the industry.
Well, it started a good few years ago. As a young teenager, I was very curious about technology, and it led me towards engineering. And as a person that came out from a favela, it's really not easy to access it, but probably I was lucky enough and maybe insistent enough, and I could pursue this dream. And going through my background in engineering, I ended up working for Bristol for a good few years. I worked there for 4 years, is also in automotive industry, but more related to tires, right? And after that, I decided to move to Ireland a few years ago, exactly 7 years ago, left the sunny place to come to this very cloudy and cold place, but that became my second home.
Got it. And you mentioned that you were working in Brazil first prior to Ireland, and you mentioned that you were from a specific area. You said favela. Do you mind clarifying that for the audience who doesn't know what that means?
Well, favela would be a slum, as you call it in English. I come from a city called Salvador. It was the first capital of Brazil. And in Salvador, I come from a neighborhood called Engomadeira. Is one of the biggest favelas in Salvador. So this is what I mean when I say I came from a favela. It's a very poor neighborhood where most of my colleagues are probably not even here anymore, or they couldn't even afford or had a chance to go into a college level.
So now that we know a little bit about you, it's time for our first segment, the Maintainer Mashup, where we dive into equipment, management, and teams to find out how we can make maintenance more reliable.
Maintenance required.
Listen, I maintain.
I maintain myself.
Maintain course.
Maintain speed.
I gotta maintain respect.
So now, can we hear a bit more about Magna International and specifically about the plant in Ireland that you work at? And again, for everyone, Magna is a Fortune 500 company. You probably are utilizing or benefiting from utilizing products that they make. I've used them. It's been Jake's customer. Vitória is working there as well. So obviously a global company with over 340 facilities. So just a little bit for the background for the audience.
Of course. So Magna, as you said, is a huge company. We have different segments in production. For the plant here in Ireland, we are part of the subgroup called COSMA, where we can produce basically the body parts. So in the plant I work for, we are basically producing tooling, and also we have the production site joined for the body parts, where we will make mostly doors, roofs, and etc.
So when we look at Magna as a company, it's massive. 340 facilities. Every facility is located at a different place and different town, different cultures, different peoples and languages that are spoken. So when you look at, it's hard to create a culture that is universal across all facilities. It has to be designed and specific to the region that you're in. So when you look at, your experience being a maintenance team and a leader within that organization, how do you strive to make a positive culture around what's happening on the plant floor?
So Magna is global, it's very inclusive and also diverse. So as part of our daily basis, we will be working with dynamic groups from across the world, not only in Ireland. But when we talk about the group here in Ireland, is also very diverse. Even though there are not many women, for example, in my area in maintenance, you can also see people from different backgrounds in different countries in the facility. So I think maybe even the Irish way will help it, because the Irish people are very open, very friendly, and maybe this is part of what is being in Ireland and being a facility in Ireland. So it's kind of very natural for us.
Awesome. And so let's talk a little bit about kind of how you all are operating and how you're achieving what you're achieving there in that local plant. So I heard you talk about prior the fact that you all are operating with a really small team. In the current environment, the business environment, that's kind of like the holy grail on what everyone is trying to achieve, do more with less. So in your plant, having a smaller team, you all seem to have had a lot higher output relative to the team. Can you explain to us and talk a little bit about how you all are achieving that? Because again, that's something that I'm sure everyone in the audience would love to hear about, as that's, again, the holy grail of business nowadays, right?
Yeah, definitely. Our maintenance team is very small. If you think on the size of our facility, it's like we are kind of 3 plants in one, because we have the tooling side, the production side, and also the assembly side. So it's like 3 factories in one, right? But still it's only one maintenance team to cover all the 3 areas. And we are not only maintenance, we are also facilities. And we are also engineering, we are also project, we are also sustainability, we are also Industry 4.0. So it's a very small team that cover many different areas, many different sub-factories in the plant. So the way we kind of found our way through all this big involvement is basically having some kind of sub-teams. We do have people that are focused in small areas of the factory, and we have some people that does cover everything at the same time. So what we probably have as differential is that the team working there is very specialized and is also working for Magna for a long time. So we all know very well the machines we have, and we also know very well the common issues, the common problems that we would have. And not only that, we also have some contractors that have been working with us for a long time, that whenever we cannot take over and cover everything that is happening just on our own, we would reach out those contractors that are also very familiar with our facilities.
Absolutely. And when I look at what your description was, you talk about we're not just maintenance, we're facilities, we're leading Industry 4.0 initiatives. We're moving on educating and bringing on board this next generation of people who are working in a facility, and there's that mentoring that's happening as well. Can you talk about the team structure and dynamics, and like when you're responsible for so many different areas, how do you stay organized? Can you share any wins that like your organization has, or that your team has accomplished when you're managing and balancing all of these different aspects on the floor?
I would say that probably Industry 4.0 is common here to help us, because with dashboards and interactive backgrounds that we can be using to collect data or even see our own data, it's easy or easier, at least, to try to manage all those projects all together. Currently, we use a lot Teams in some of the sub-apps in Teams, like the Teams project, to try to organize all the projects that are happening at the same time. So we have a common software, let's call like this, where everybody can be reaching out for information and even putting new data, and everybody will have access to it on like online time, live time. So I would say that probably using Industry 4.0, which we are still developing, we are still not fully digital and not fully implemented with Industry 4.0 is something that we are still working on. Probably at the end of this route, we will be definitely in a very good place, because I believe personally that Industry 4.0 or even Industry 5.0, as people are already talking about, is the future of any factory, any industry.
So Vitória, with 4.0 and 5.0 obviously being a heavy lift, right? Like you said, it can be problematic in the process of implementation, but the pain is obviously worth the value when we go through this process. I want to hear a little bit about the current state. For example, with your CMMS that you all may be using, or maybe like your TPM program. Could you tell us a little bit about the current situation and kind of what the roadmap with respect to CMMS, for example, looks like?
Perfect. Just finishing with the Industry 4.0 that you just said, it's indeed a long process and something that really need to achieve, because having all the live dashboards with information on our production, and also we are covering sustainability with the Industry 4.0. It's going to be awesome to be able to see live how much CO2 we are using per part produced. So it's something that we really need to finish at some point, and something that will be very helpful for us. Coming to our CMMS, currently we use PMAC. It's an Irish software. It's an Irish CMMS, very popular in Ireland. We currently are not using it linked to our dashboards, but we do have some proper dashboards on the system where we can see our OEE, we can see our MTBF, MTTR, and also all the other KPIs we have for maintenance, including spare parts, including PMs, and so on. When it comes to our TPM, it's still in development. We do have a lot already in progress and already in place. When I started with Magna here in Ireland, the program was very small yet, and now at the moment, we are still striving to get to a very good place, but I can say that we are much better than from when I started in the company. We are already working with digitalized forms, for example, so all the preventive, the guys in production and also in maintenance are going towards the TPM of the machines are all digitalized. So they can just go there with the tablets and perform whatever activity they need to do, and I'll get live information on the data and the results from whatever they are performing. So maybe this is also something that you probably can see in other factories and other facilities.
Got it. Awesome. Well, thank you for breaking that down for us. We surely appreciate it. And so now that we've heard about how Magna operates, let's talk a little bit about you and how you excel in our second segment, What's in Your Toolkit?
We're gonna fix it. Get the tool.
Pick the one right tool.
The right tool for the right job.
Well, myself, I'm a very, very nerd person. So I love studying. I love being updated with whatever is in the market. So I do try to upskill myself every time I have a chance. So in my toolkit, definitely you see always a tablet or a notebook where I can be like studying something, researching a new technology, what is going on the markets, even in other facilities. For example, one of my great passions at the moment is Industry 4.0. So even though we are developing it in my facility, I try to go and stay a few steps ahead on what we have in the moment. So So, for example, even though we are working with Industry 4.0, I try to study a little bit about machine learning and how we can be using machine learning in maintenance and what are the benefits. Basically, also using artificial intelligence also on, I don't know, documentation or studies that we can be doing for our machinery, or even for my personal life. If I want to do, I don't know, a new article about something, I always try to have the AI on my side as an intern helping me with the small things.
Awesome. Well, fellow nerd to fellow nerd, that's awesome. And I think I see kind of how you progressed and how you've gone forward in life, and it seems to have impacted things greatly, right? Being proactive. I live by a mantra, just try to improve 1% per day, and that tends to get us where we want to go. So now, going back some with respect to your background, I want to hear how you started originally in the favela in Brazil, as we said, a pretty low income area. And I want to hear how you overcame that situation in order to become someone who's working in Ireland for a Canadian company, one of the largest companies in the world, a Fortune 500 company, which is quite impressive. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Talking about mantras, you said that you have your mantra improving 1% a little bit every day. My mantra is everybody can say no, but we always go for a yes. So even in situations that we are supposed to receive no's as an answer, why not still ask? Why not still try? Because like you are not in the other people's mind. Maybe you think they will say a no to you, and at the end they probably will be convinced enough to say a yes. So everything that I did in my life was always using this kind of mantra. So I came to Ireland without any skills in English, and I learned English nearly from the zero. And like I was in a very good position when I was working for Bridgestone. I was already working as an engineer. I was already having a very nice income compared to what I had as a small kid in my family. And still, I decided to drop everything and try from scratch without knowing anyone in Ireland to see what life could bring to me. And I think people sometimes get stuck in life because they are not willing to like step back so they are able to run forward. So I would say that for whoever is there hearing us, listening to us, just take risk. Sometimes the risks are going to change your life forever for the better. And we will never know if we don't take the first step, right?
That's right.
Absolutely. And I think, a lot of people listening to this story, this conversation right now, have an experience completely putting their entire career on hold, to continue living, in your case, in like Ireland, and saying, hey, I don't know exactly what's going to happen as this next journey happens in my life, but you kind of stuck to a plan, and or did your plan shift as you learn more? Or what was that experience like for you, just kind of saying, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to have to see what's next?
Well, I had the opportunity to come to Ireland for 1 month on holidays, right? Was the first time I left Brazil. And once I arrived here for that month, I started to notice how great the country was and how nice the people here was and how great the weather was as well, because I came during the summer, so I was tricked. I didn't know the reality. I came during a very good summer, so it was still sunny and everything. So this sounded as something very positive and also curious for me. So once I went back to Brazil for my normal life, daily journey, going to work, going back home, and everything that I had as routine at the time, I couldn't feel like I could fit anymore. So this was a problem because, as I said, I don't take no's, even from myself. So when I started to say like, no. So why no for this life? What do I want now? And I don't see yet. So I started to look back and see, okay, how did I manage to get to this point in life, in this comfort that I have, And what do I want for myself in the future? Where do I want to see myself in 5 years? Like, who I want to be. So once I started thinking like that, I decided to go and search more about Ireland. So I started searching what kind of factories, what kind of industries they had here, and also what kind of other studies I could pursue in Ireland. I knew I needed to improve the English, of course, because it's the language spoken in the country. But after the English, what would be the next step? So before moving indefinite, I did all this track. I researched a lot. I put a plan. I saw how much was the cost of living. I saw how much was the minimum salary. I saw also what kind of other jobs other than engineering I could be doing here. So when I first came here, I was actually working in healthcare. I was working as a healthcare assistant because I had the background in Brazil as a volunteer for nursing homes. They saw it as an experience. So it was my first job. From after 1 week I was in Ireland, I started working as a healthcare, and I stayed in that field for quite long, even through COVID, and was actually how I could manage to not only get in touch with Irish culture and understand better how is the life here, and also how I could decide that, yes, I really want to stay in Ireland, because even though I'm not in engineering yet, I know this country will be a very good place for me to live. And I know that I can be overcoming whatever issue I'll have in the future, because I know I'll be able to create a very good path for myself in this country. So it was a long journey. It wasn't like, okay, yes, let's go to Ireland tomorrow. No, I studied a little bit. I put a plan, a financial plan, and also a study plan, what kind of careers I could be pursuing while I was still trying to find back my place in engineering. Because, like, we need to survive, right? So we cannot be afraid of working.
Right. Absolutely. You know, your journey is really inspiring, and I'm sure people see how focused you were on your long-term goals and being able to overcome all those obstacles. And one thing you really mentioned for all the audience, it only takes that one yes, and it justifies the thousands of no's, and you pretty much forget those once you get that one yes, right? And so, you know, I'm very impressed with you. Thank you for breaking down your story. It's very inspiring.
Thank you, David.
Well, with that inspiring path that you've taken, you know, what advice would you give others out there who are entering the industry, right? I mean, you've really proven that you can start from anywhere and get to a level of success and a level of leadership and a level of building a community and culture within an organization and a company. What would you do to inspire, or advice that you would give to help them rise up to that next level as well?
I would say first, people shouldn't be attached to where they are used to. Like, comfort zone is great, but comfort zone won't take you anywhere. So definitely the first thing is trying to step up from your comfort zone. Don't be afraid of taking risks. Don't be afraid of learning new journeys, learning new paths, and even on addition to that, don't be afraid of learning. The life is a learning process, so we learn new things every day. So even though sometimes people will have already a career, maybe if they're not comfortable, if they are tired of that path, taking risk and seeing different opportunities in the same field, in different fields, same country, different countries, maybe will be the best thing they can do to themselves. We need to remember always that we are people. We are not machines. Even though sometimes we will be all the time working among machines, with machines, we are not machines ourselves. The work environment is evolving every day, so we need to evolve ourselves as well. Not only thinking on the professional life, but also on personal. Because we are nothing in our professional life without the personal life in balance. So definitely that is what I would recommend. Just take risk, don't accept all the no's, try always for your yes, leave your comfort zone sometimes. It's nice to be in a comfort zone for a good time, But maybe taking a risk here and there would also maybe be the way you will success for real in the future. A few more things. As a Black woman from a South American country, coming from the favela, I would also add, like, don't be afraid of being the different person in the new place you are trying to reach. Like, not only, like, it's not because you are a Black person or a female, or if you come from a third world country, you can take this in your own advantage. So we are used to more challenge than people that are in Europe or in what they call first world class country. So we are very creative. Take this creativity in your favor. So just don't be afraid.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great summary, and that really then, you know, it's inspiring to help people push their careers and you know, their future forward, which ties us into our third segment, which is the future of factories.
Meet the future!
To our futures.
What future? The factory. My factory. Everybody's factory.
I love your factory.
My factory, my rules.
When we look at the future of factories, we discuss new trends that we're seeing across the industry and, you know, what it looks like in the years ahead of our industry. So when we talk about all the great innovations that we're seeing that are modernizing the workflow, that are modernizing the technology and the equipment that we work with, where do you see the industry should be focusing when it comes to their organizations and their groups and teams?
I think at the moment, the organization should be investing in training for their own staff towards technology, towards Industry 4.0, towards digitalization, towards digital twin, or even augmented or artificial reality. This is definitely the future of any industry. And I would say that people that are afraid of losing the jobs for the technology should actually be concerned on trying to keep up with their own studies. So they will be the people developing or working with those new technologies. Definitely the future. Mainly when we talk about an industry that will have a high pace of production. The new technology coming up that are actually already here definitely will be imperative for the success in the future, and not so long future. I'd say like 5 years maybe or less.
Right. Like, this stuff isn't as far out as everybody likes to envision it to be, right? But as you said, AI is not the thing that's taking people's jobs, and technology is not taking
Definitely
your jobs.
not.
It's the people with AI and the people with technology who's going to take your job if you don't learn, right? So
Definitely.
now, all wise words. We really appreciate that. One question I have for you, though, is a little bit of reality here, right? You obviously can overcome obstacles better than the average person. So let's talk about obstacles. When it comes to implementations and things like that in the future of factories, where do you see obstacles that we really need to focus on, whether it be people not wanting to adopt to new technology? I know you said you all have a very experienced staff, so experience comes with time. So there's a little bit of implication there as we're all going through this around the world. Where do you see the obstacles in the plant, in your facility, that you feel like we really need to sound alarm on? Is there anything like that?
Definitely. We do have an alarm on already on people, because even we already have a very short team, and anytime we need to replace someone for any reason is really a challenge. I would say that this is probably not only an Irish problem, but probably a global problem. We don't have many people in the tech area, I would say in the STEAM area, available in the market. So probably this is something that probably companies should start partnering with universities and tech schools to try to get more people involved and with the interests, or even governments should also step in and try to create programs or incentive people going into tech, because definitely in the future, we won't have enough people to be working in the factories. Like here in Ireland is a real struggle whenever we need to find someone even for production, in our tooling side, it's very, very rare to find a tool maker. It's a professional that it's nearly a unicorn in the market. So this is something that we are already facing, and I would say probably other different industries are also facing problems to find qualified people to join the facilities.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we're following up here, one of the questions that I have for you is, what are you most excited about when it comes to the future of the factory? Like, is it the technology? Is it the changing of the workforce and culture? What inspires you to keep moving forward, that just, there's this light at the end of the tunnel, or maybe you're already in the tunnel and you see the light? What excites you about what the future has in store?
I like how the industry interlaces with our daily life. So what keeps me moving on and keeps me interested in the industry is what is happening on our daily life, because you can see the impact on the industry. Like, I can see in the factory all the impact, for example, from sustainability, all the global warming, and also all the problems with the environment all over the world. I can see the feedback of it in our daily basis, how we are operating, how we have to change our way to produce, to be more sustainable, to be more environmentally friendly, and also how all those programs and also politics towards diversity, inclusion. I can see the change of it in my job. Like, even though people will say, oh, it doesn't have anything to do with me, I'm an engineer. Yes, it does. Because I can see clearly the difference of the way I work and what I work with now from how I used to work and people I used to work like 5, 10, 7 years ago. So this is something, the curiosity on how the industry will develop alongside of the society. For me, it's very interesting to see this direct impact of the society in the industry. And one of the things that's keeping moving me at the moment is to see how the sustainability thing, all the sustainability talk that's changing every day. There's a new talk about different subjects inside of ESG, sustainability. And I can see, mainly in the automotive industry, the direct and huge impact that is taken.
Yeah.
All right, so before we say goodbye to Vitória, let's jump into our final segment, Fix It Funnies.
The fix is in.
It's making a really funny noise.
I'm gonna fix it.
Make it funny would be great if you could make it funny.
Your fate is fixed.
That's what makes it funny. Make sure it's funny.
At the start of the episode, Jake asked you if you could escape for a much-needed vacation, where would you go? So now I'd like to actually ask you about work hacks. Any sort of hack that you've learned that you have that you know everyone else would benefit from?
Well, I'm a very particular person. As a Brazilian, I do have different type of coffee machines in my office. So whenever I'm very stressed, I just go and what kind of coffee I want today? What kind of caffeine I need now to relax? But I would say that apart from that, because this is my just break from any stress or any stressful situation, I would say that I have a small notepad, a small notebook with me, where whenever I think I'm getting stressed and it's not helping with this problem I need to sort now in work, I make a small plan. I draw a small plan, even this is a problem like this and that. Maybe if I take this kind of action will help me sort. Because I know that stress will pass, some other stress will come, but I still need to solve that first one. So a good way that I found to try to go back without taking a lot of time and also keeping ideas live for me, it's having this small pad that I can make notes anytime and then go back to them.
That's a really good point. I don't know if you know Alex Harmozy. He's like a business influencer. And one of the things he says is a lot of times we're stressed initially because we don't have a specific strategy to go by. And it sounds like when you get overwhelmed or when you get stressed out, you're able to take that strategy and quickly jot down something to kind of have a direction and to calm those nerves. So, yeah, that's a very effective technique. I love that.
Yeah. So if you were in this industry and you had to go someplace outside of maintenance and manufacturing, where would that career path you think take you?
I would probably go towards something more artistic. As I said, I'm very curious. So alongside of engineer, the other side of life that I really like is art. I'm passionate about dance, so definitely I would become like a break dancer, an Afrobeat dancer or something, or even like start working with technology associated to art somehow. This is probably something that I would pursue, if not in engineering only purely.
Did you do capoeira, anything like that back in Brazil?
I used to.
That's what
I did jiu-jitsu. I did capoeira. I was actually a gymnastic when I was younger. So there you go. I really love arts and move.
That's what I figured based off of your passions. Awesome. And then where you're from, obviously, too, right? That's really cool. So are you currently consuming any sort of content right now for entertainment purposes, or even like it could even be YouTube and you could be nerding out and looking at machines, right? Like in different plants. I do stuff like that. What type of content would you be enjoying in your free time if you do have any at this moment?
Well, I'm passionate about learning languages. So 2 things that I do for my process of learning languages. One is studying and trying to access like media of that language. At the moment, I'm learning Korean. So I'm very into K-dramas.
Awesome.
And also I just came from South Korea. I spent 2 weeks there just so I could experience the life and the culture, the history of the place. So whenever I have a time for my own hobbies, is basically traveling, learning about food and culture and languages.
So you listen to K-pop too, then, I'm assuming?
No, I'm not very into K-pop.
Oh,
I'm
is that right?
I'm not an army. I'm not an army.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, as we wrap up for the final question, you're working out with a lot of different pieces of equipment that you see every day at Magna, but is there a dream piece of machinery that you could operate or that you could have worked on or that you could build on that would be a ultimate bucket list fulfiller?
Yes, I've been keeping an eye on what they are doing in Asia for humanoids. So this is definitely something that I would love to be able to work with. I'm more used to like industrial robots. So one of the things that I would love to have the opportunity to work with is like those personal robots, those robots for social assistance and how the people are using AI for their own process of learning and how to deal with people. This is something that would be definitely something that I would look up for the future. As I like arts, maybe working with some sort of robot that it's using art or interacting with people on the daily basis.
Awesome. Well, Victoria, thanks for coming to our show. It has been great to have you. This has been The Maintainers, a Blue Cap community podcast. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from, as we are on most major platforms. So this way you'll be notified whenever a new episode goes live. Thank you.
This podcast is brought to you by Traction. Traction offers streamlined hardware and software solutions designed to make maintenance more reliable and profitable. Their AI-powered condition monitoring and asset management solution predicts machine failures and unplanned downtime, allowing clients to save an average of $10 million every trimester. It's artificial intelligence quarterbacking your maintenance.